Hey, spooky friends, Adam here. I just want to go ahead and give you a fair warning that we are working on a backup setup right now. But for canon purposes, let's just say we've been kidnapped and are being held at the bottom of a well where we have to put the lotion on our skin or else we get the hose again. And that's why it sounds so echoey. So enjoy this episode from the bottom of the well.
Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And today we are coming at you from a different recording location. So if it sounds different, that is why we're using completely different mics than we used to, or usually do, because we'll be probably doing that at some point using our regular mics and stuff. But right now, it's different, sounds different. We're kind of reverting back to what we used to use.
Yeah, this is old school podcasting old school. Right now. I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's different room, different mics. We got the multi-computer setup going on right now, too. That'll be fun. The audio
new
syncing
noises,
I'm looking forward
lots
to.
Of stuff. So hopefully it doesn't affect you guys as much. It's really just more work on Adam's end. And we're here again to read you folks some fun, new spooky things, hopefully. A little bit spook, a little bit haunt, a little bit ghost. You got ghost, right? I got ghost.
I have a lot of ghost, actually.
Oh, a lot of ghost.
Yeah, I'm doing law enforcement ghost stories. That's what my topic is.
All right, I got little ghosts. That's just a little bit ghost. Not a lot of bit ghost.
So I guess before we get into our topics, let's just go over the normal. Let's just talk about what's going on with us.
Betty White died.
Yeah, not too much has changed. Thing. Yeah, Betty White, America's grandmother, passed away, which was super sad.
Adam likes to say it's because she was hoping to bless 2022 to be a better year.
It was like a Gandalf sacrifice move where you don't let the Balrog pass. Like, she got to New Year's Eve and yelled at all the horrible things that happened in 2021. You shall not pass! And she'll come back. She was already Betty White, or Betty the White. So I'm interested to see what her next form will be. But yeah, that sucks.
Super Saiyan, whatever, flew.
I was definitely very sad when I heard that news. It was definitely a bummer to end the year on. But yeah, that's the mindset I'm putting myself into to try and make it like a positive spin on something.
Yeah.
Aside from that, we had New Year's also, which was for us pretty basic. We just counted down the New Year, said Happy New Year, and then packed a car.
Yeah, and then came out to California. So that's why things sound different. We're in California right now. Completely different setup. Hopefully, again, you guys aren't affected by it as much. We'll try to make the sound as good as possible with what we have, because honestly, we don't have a lot. So we're actually even borrowing a microphone because we don't have two nice fancy mics.
Every single piece of equipment aside from this borrowed microphone has never had an episode of Scaryish recorded on it.
Nope. So,
but aside from all of those things, it is the new year. Welcome to 2022, which means this month is January, which means it is January Patreon Push. That's right. Once a year, we do January Patreon Push, which is a reminder to our wonderful listeners to go over to patreon.com/Scaryish podcast and sign up to become one of our many wonderful patrons. For as low as $1 a month, you get early access to all of our content. And around the $5, $3 level, around the $3 level, you can actually help us choose some of our topics throughout the year. At the $10 level, we distribute out gifts every now and then throughout the year. At the $25 and up level, we have the shout out tier where we're going to give a shout out once a month on the first topic episode of every month, like we're going to do right now. Robin, who are our wonderful patrons at the $25 or above level?
So shout out to you special spooks, to Catherine, Jessica, and Ethan. You guys rock. Thank you so much for supporting us so much through Patreon.
All I'm going to say is Patreon is a really good reflection of the health of the podcast. So it is so nice to see so many of you folks have gone out there and supported us in the past. And one thing I will say that I think should be very convincing is so many of us have New Year's resolutions out there, like I'm going to go to Starbucks less. I'm going to go to the gym, going to get in shape, going to get my life together. If there's anything you've decided to abstain from, like alcohol, fast food, sugar, I don't know, something you're going to save money on, a good way to make sure you're going to fulfill that commitment is to take, I don't know, some of the money that you'd normally spend on it and go to some place like patreon.com/Scaryish podcast and sign up. And then you have something that you're supporting that supports you with the wonderful content that we provide. And I will say, we're going into our 5th year of Scaryish now. We have never once missed an episode. I'm very, very proud of that, actually. So I think we're a very reliable show. And if you would like to support us, we would love to see that. We do have a goal at 150 patrons to go stay in the Stanley Hotel for a night and record an episode while we were there, which would be amazing to do. So if we can get to 150, I would be overwhelmed. So please consider going to patreon.com/Scaryish podcast and contributing. And that's the last thing I'll say for this episode. But it is January Patreon push, so expect to hear it again the next episode.
It's going to be an adventure. And yes, but I guess...
Speaking of adventure, Robin, why don't you get into your topic?
Yep, so I'm going to be telling you folks about something international for us anyway, because we're here in the US. If you guys are living in Hong Kong, this is in your backyard, which is a figure of speech. It's probably not literally in your backyard. It's probably miles from where you live if you live in Hong Kong, or it literally could be your backyard. I don't know. You guys can live wherever you want. Either way, we are headed to Hong Kong to cover a school that is the site of some awful stuff, supposedly. You're going to hear supposedly a lot this episode. And then there's obviously some haunting activity. So, yeah. That's just the first topic. I have 2 topics this episode because, you know.
So your overall topic is
my
haunted
overall,
Hong Kong?
Yeah, haunted Hong Kong is my topic. The first one is a haunted school, and it's called the Tat Tak School in Hong Kong. And the building was built 1931 and was built based off of this ancestral hall, apparently. But when I look at the building, it just looks like a big white school building. So I'm not sure what type of ancestral hall it is. But the school was in its original location until 1961. So it was built in 1931 and they stayed there till 1961. Then they moved in 1974. So if I read the internet correctly, it was just really confusing trying to figure all this stuff out, right? It was out of commission for a decade. And then the school, I guess, changed locations or something. And it became a school again or something, and was the location for children's education for those in a nearby village from 1974 until 1998. And 1998 was the final year that this school was in use, so it closed after 1998. Other than being a structure that was known for educating the young, the Tat Tak School is famous for being haunted due to its history. So there's a legend surrounding the school, and that is that it was occupied by the Japanese army during the war, probably World War II. And during that occupation, the villagers were massacred by these soldiers occupying this
terrible.
area. And I'm sure a lot of you folks have heard of like the rape of Nanking, all that stuff. You've never heard of that?
I've never heard of that, no.
Oh, you should read it. It's a fucked up book about history, stuff that actually happened. And I assume that these legends and stories are based off of incidents like that during the war. And on top of that, it's said that at some point in time, British soldiers swept through and killed a bunch of villagers as well. Some sources say it happened in like 1941, also during World Wars. But honestly, there's no proof. So I can't tell you exact dates. I wish I could. It said that in 1998, one of the school mistresses, which I mean like teachers, one of the teachers, hanged herself in the girls' bathroom, probably being the reason why the school closed its doors, because I'm sure if someone kills themselves like that, there's nothing you can do to recover from that. And it said that she died in a red dress, the ghost of which is said to wander the halls of the school. There's also a graveyard that is actually built next to the school, and the ghost of this woman in red is seen walking in and around this graveyard. Some sources say that this graveyard was built in response to the British massacre in 1941, but again, no definitive evidence saying so. There are stories that state that in 2001, there were a group of students that consisted of 4 boys and 8 girls that went to explore this abandoned school. And what ended up happening was these kids ran out of that school from fear. They were emotionally disturbed by what they saw and were along the lines of hysterical. It was just, they were all terrified. And one of the girls was said to have become possessed by the spirit of this red lady after seeing her standing in front of a gravestone next to the school. In the graveyard next to the school. She tried to strangle herself with her own hands.
Wow.
Going as far as to bite one of the boys trying to help her. 2 of the other girls fainted, and one of them had to go to the hospital. There was supposedly a police report that was filed for this incident, supposedly, because I cannot find any evidence of a police report or anything like that. There is supposed to be a Chinese superstition. Some sources said that this was a superstition, but I'm not sure how true that is. Maybe it's a superstition for some individuals or some areas of China. And I can't say that it's for the entirety of China, but there is supposedly, again, a superstition that if you die in an outfit, like if you're dressed completely in red and you die, you will return as a powerful, vengeful spirit.
So if you want to be a powerful, vengeful spirit, always dress in red and dress to the nines?
I guess so.
Interesting.
Other reported sites involve that of a male figure that was seen crouching in one of the corners of the school. And when the person that saw them, turned to take a closer look, this entity disappeared. Which is absolutely weird.
So I think what's funny is that most stories that happen, like what you just described, come from folks who are brave enough or adventurous enough to go check out a place that has a legend about it or someplace terrifying.
And it's abandoned, though. You could really go in there and be like, yo, I saw That's
the thing. The people that are willing to go and do that are not normally the most reliable source, like high school students or however old these kids were that went in there.
Yeah.
So when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that's crazy. But at the same time, I have the caveat in the back of my head. It's like, but are they lying for attention or for a story? So when you hear a police report was filed, but you can't find it, I'm like, I want to believe. We don't have the poster in this room, but I still have that bone in my body. But I'm like, how real could it be? Because I know when I had friends in high school that used to go do ghost hunting, they'd always come back and they'd have a story. They're all like mini Zach Bagginses, so it's always hard to tell.
That's hilarious. So, though this building is abandoned, the school has been used as the filming location for a lot of films. I was looking on some sites, and some sites just listed this film, this film, this film. It's a whole list of all these films that were filmed in this abandoned building.
Do you think they put it in their marketing? This movie was filmed in this location.
I think there are a lot of movies based off of this haunted building. That revolve around it. That actually, a movie about the Red Lady type of stuff. During the filming of a number of these films, different cast and production members have reported strange incidents happening. So there was a man named Derek Kwok, who was the director of Full Strike. Sounds like a fucking badass movie, if you ask me. But he reported, quote, once at the location shooting in that school, the camera was faulty suddenly and the lights kept flickering. One colleague suggested to burn the joss sticks and it resumed to normal immediately. But the camera had a problem and the lights flickered again not long after. We realized that the joss sticks were burned completely and had exceeded the shooting time as promised beforehand. Apparently, end quote.
I was about to ask, what's a joss stick? I get the feeling
apparently,
like that's what
yes. Apparently, joss sticks are incense sticks. So, for this filming, when they burned the incense, all these strange things stopped happening. But if any of you, there's got to be Asians out there who have burned incense before. Yeah, and not even just Asians. I just say Asians because I'm Buddhist and we burn incense at my parents' house all the time. I'm sure other people out there burn incense just to cleanse their homes, do whatever. But they don't burn for very long. They are quick burns. So once the sticks were burned completely, weird stuff started kicking up again. And I can't imagine how much you'd need to burn in order to keep the ghosts away during a film shoot. You
need a specific person with the job of always keeping the joss
it's
sticks
just
burning.
Keep burning it, keep doing it, and filming takes, I don't know, maybe some, I'm sure take 20 hours. Some take forever, in a day. I can't imagine.
You can combine the person who actually has to keep the joss sticks running on your set with the gardener, and their only job should be to remove weeds, and you can call them Joss Whedon. It was a long walk, but I'm really glad we got there for that joke.
No, you did not get there. That was awful.
That was a Robin level pun, and I'm pretty proud of it.
I'm better than that. I am better than that. Maybe not at 3 a.m., but I'm usually better than that. So legends surrounding the building are so feared and believed in the area that there are some cab drivers that actually refused to take that road that leads to the school. And for me, at least, if there were a big abandoned building surrounded by forests and graveyards, I would definitely avoid it too. Especially if I heard legends and of this girl who got possessed and started biting people, you know, I would be like, maybe not. I'll take my chances elsewhere. Many that have visited the location, though, claim that though it is incredibly creepy, they haven't personally seen the Red Lady or any other ghostly entities. It's kind of just word of mouth. People spread legends and it grows and it grows and it grows. But who knows? You never know if it's true or not. Maybe there are ghosts and it's all a cover-up. But yeah, that is the story of the Tat Tak School in Hong Kong. I don't know why I felt like I should be done by now, but I'm not, because there's another topic that I'm going to tell you guys about. The second location I'm going to tell you folks about that is in Hong Kong is that of the Dragon Lodge. Again, this is one of the buildings within any country, state, whatever, that labels itself as one of the most haunted XYZ in XYZ.
Do you think there's an official list out there? Like the official list?
There is no official list of the most haunted anything. Everyone's just like, yo, I got the most haunted house in whatever.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and state that someone out there, Scaryish, should travel the globe to make the most haunted list, the official most haunted list. We'll start out small. We'll do it in like a county, then we'll move to the state level, then we'll move to the country level, and then once we get through the USA, we'll do the whole world.
If you folks want to fund this, I'm down.
That's our billion patron goal.
Billion patrons. All right, so there's a place in Hong Kong, apparently, called Victoria Peak, also known as The Peak. And properties located on the peak are some of the world's most highly valued properties, like bougie, high-ass valued properties. This particular one is located at 32 Lugard Road, and it's existed there for decades. The original owner apparently went bankrupt, and then the subsequent owner died in the home. Back in its heyday, it was owned by a building contractor named Tom Mun Long, and he and his family used to hold huge fancy parties for Hong Kong's elite. This included military officials, politicians, bankers, etc., pretty much people with buttloads of money. Though it may have been opulent and fancy in its heyday when it was built in 1945, it now lays dilapidated and crumbling, like it is covered in graffiti. It is a mess.
Have you ever been into a building that's like that?
No, and I don't have my tetanus shot, therefore I would not risk it.
You don't have a tetanus shot? What's wrong with you?
I mean, don't you have to get one like every X amount of years?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the gap is on it, actually. I might need a tetanus shot myself.
I was going to say, the last time I got a tetanus shot was, I think I stepped on a nail when I was still in middle school. In middle school or high school, I stepped on a nail and it went straight through my shoe, straight through my foot, and I had to go get a tetanus shot because it was not clean.
Yeah.
So
I will say, when you go into places that are abandoned, which I haven't done in a minute, they just in general feel like they're haunted.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, regardless of whether or not there's any creepy story attached to them. It's just this area that you enter that's supposed to... It resembles a place that holds people that you know no one's allowed to go to, and people haven't been there for a while. It's very like Last of Us feeling, like nature's trying to reclaim it while you're in there, and it just has this creepy feeling to it as you walk through it.
Well, when you look at pictures of this house in the state that it is in now, it's just all the furniture is rotted, and I don't know, I always wonder how that happens in a home, right? Because it's further away from the window. This furniture is further away from the window. It's not necessarily like the rain's going to hit it as soon as, it rains or if there's a storm or whatnot. But how does this furniture get so rotted? And okay, maybe this home has been abandoned for 15 years. Does it look that bad that quickly when you just leave something there? Because I've had things, in bins or I've left stuff out that has sat there for years and years and years, but it doesn't look like that.
Well, I think when you have stuff like in storage in a place that's maintained, it won't start looking like that. But if you're in a building overall that has been abandoned, like everything slowly falls into disrepair. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think that might be the case, or it's whatever evil exists within this place slowly seeping into the furniture. It's one of two things. It's either like the evil seeping in or life finding a way.
God damn it.
There's no other way to say that phrase. So
if you guys don't know, that's from Jurassic Park.
If you've never watched Jurassic Park 1, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
Yeah,
that
pause
movie's incredible.
this, go watch Jurassic Park. No, don't actually do that.
Finish this, go watch Jurassic Park.
Yeah, you can finish this, then watch it. Jurassic Park's pretty good. It's one of Adam's favorite movies. It's one, my friend Rothman, that is one of his favorite movies.
He has good taste.
Freaking loves Jurassic Park. Alright, so this 4-story mansion had a lush garden and had residents kind of going in and out. They had parties, they had events. There was always someone there. Despite its potential, now no one wants to touch this house. No one wants to be in it. And that's...
You get the Property Brothers over there. I say this.
Oh my God.
First Property Brothers reference in 2022. They will make that house
okay.
gorgeous.
Okay. Well, it's the reason why people don't want to touch this is because of its story, because of its history of hauntings. And rumor has it that construction crews that have attempted to work and renovate this home over the years have claimed that this place is hella haunted. So they don't want to work on it.
When we have our official list of the most haunted places,
it's going to be hella haunted places.
One of the levels will be hella haunted.
But like...
a PKE meter like Egon, like, oh man, we just crossed over into hella haunted.
It's just...
Get out of your affliction t-shirts. Zach Baggins says that these help reduce the amount of possession.
Anyway, so it's... These people try and get construction crews to come in, work on these houses, and I forget what year it was, but they were working on the renovations, and it's halted. All the construction halted because they didn't want to be there anymore, supposedly. At least that's how the legend goes, right? Maybe there was money issues or something like that, but how much you're spending on this house, I think you can afford to pay the contractors. Legend has it that there are eerie screams and cries and other strange sounds that have been heard throughout the home, and they have been attributed again to tales of Japanese soldiers performing heinous acts on people. Legend has it that they decapitated several Catholic nuns there during World War II. According to the interwebs, in 1997, this house was sold for 118 million Hong Kong dollars, and the home was last sold in 2004 for 76 million Hong Kong dollars. That's about 9.75 million in US dollars.
Still a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money, but almost half of what they originally sold it for, right? Or bought it for. So if you buy it for 118 and then you sell it again for 76, it's just not... the money is lost there somewhere.
Yeah, Tarek would call that a flop for sure.
Who? Tarek from Flipper Flop? You fucking...
I've been watching a lot of HGTV.
Oh my god. Stop. Versus the Property Brothers. I'm sorry, but Christina and Tarek are not going to come and freaking fix this house.
I'll have to look at the pictures to decide if I'm going to love it or list it, because I'm not too sure.
Damn it. No, Hillary from Love It or List It has her own show now?
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, so now I'm like, what other freaking...
HGTV star am I going to work in?
Before we left the house on Friday... Wait, no. Friday?
Saturday. We left Saturday.
We were watching Rock the Block, too.
Yep.
So there's so much HGTV. Who we need? We need Chip and Joanna Gaines to come in and give it a nice country feel.
We need someone to help maximize our space, for sure.
So the current owners have gone to the lengths of sealing off the home with barbed wire to prevent ghost hunters and other thrill seekers from breaking in. I don't know how much there is to protect because it is a messed up house now with all the graffiti, all the decay, everything. And nature has kind of reclaimed it. There's stuff growing everywhere. There are also so many household things like furniture and appliances that are strewn all over the property. And the fact that there's a reluctance from construction crews to continue work there, it's made everything impossible to fix. No one wants to go there and do it, maybe. Or there's no money, who knows, or they just choose not to, right? These crews claim to hear the cries of unseen children, and I would run out of there so fast if I heard that too. Because
one of the stories I chose not to put into my script was about
children?
A cop going to an abandoned elementary school
No.
children running around.
Shut up. Yeah. I'm terrified. Shut up.
That's as long as it was, so I was like, I'll try and find something with a little more meat on the bones, but yeah, 100%.
Fuck that. No. So a woman who lived at Dragon Lodge in the 1970s wrote, some said it was a blog, but I don't think blogs existed in the 1970s, right?
No, they did
There's
not.
Was there internet? I don't even know if there was internet.
If there was, I think it was only for like military purposes at that point.
So she wrote that she often saw, quote, a ghost child and heard her crying, and that there was something very sorrowful about the child as she seemed to be asking for help, end quote. And another incident that has been connected with the home is that of a young lawyer by the name of Wimbush, who lived in the building below the garden area in the 1960s. He was caught up in a scandal in the 80s and was found dead at the bottom of a swimming pool in a different home that was also located on the peak. His death was ruled a suicide. So that isn't necessarily in the property in that house, but I think there's still that connection because he lived there. You know, it's kind of like that one movie, with the Sinister.
Yeah.
Where it's like, even though you move a house, still
the
following you.
ghoul's still gonna get you.
Yep. A lot of people that live in the area say that the home is just bad luck and that its existence is a bad omen. Whoever lives there or has lived there does not prosper. It's just not good. Nothing good ever happens to those who live there. It's not like people can lie about the deaths that have happened when selling the home either. So you can't just make up like, yeah, it's fine. You guys want to buy it? It's chill. It's cool. Just, you know, we've lowered the price to a nice $30 million.
What the law is there for disclosing if someone's passed away on the property?
There are laws set in place there that require that real estate agents have to inform prospective buyers.
There's places in this country where they can get away with not
right,
telling
but in
you.
Hong Kong, you can't.
Interesting.
So that's something that I would definitely be thankful for. But over there, sometimes people start rumors to lower the price of property. So people will start rumors about, oh, there was a death or there's, you know, this bad stuff happened surrounding this. And so some people think that these legends started because of that. Someone wanted to buy the property, they were denied, so they started these rumors to lower the price down and stuff like that. The representative of the company that currently owns Dragon Lodge says that to his knowledge, there is no definitive evidence that there were nuns that were executed during the war, and that their company has no plans to lease, rebuild, or sell the home. They are just going to sit on it. That's it. And I mean, if you went up to this place and looked at the view that they have there, you can see everything. It is an amazing view. But these people are just sitting on this. I don't know if it's because it's too expensive to develop right now.
You know why?
Or what?
Secret Illuminati base.
Shut
Called them out.
up. God, shut up. All night, Adam's been saying stupid stuff, and I'm just like,
It's not true. Saying brilliant things all night.
Joss Wheaton.
Weeds.
Oh.
God, you didn't even hear it right. Wheat. I didn't work anything in there about wheat. Stupid asshole. If I was going to work something in about wheat, I'd have been like, keep the Joss lit and get me fucking wheat thins. Joss Wheaton.
What? What about wheat thins?
You heard me, and if you didn't, pay more attention to my stupid, terrible jokes.
All right, so though there are other reasons given as to why the property is abandoned, such as lowering real estate prices or out of family respect. Some people that inherit properties just don't want to sell it out of respect for the people that owned it before. It's still scary. The idea that there could possibly be some ghosts. It's just the way this building looks. If you look at it, it is creepy. And it is put on this hill surrounded by all these other properties that are of really high price values. And someone decided to leave this dilapidated building there. It's really weird, and this company that could possibly make a bunch of money on it is just sitting on it. And I really wonder why. I wonder if it's legitimately, it reminds me of, Ju-on, what is it called?
Prequel to
The Grudge.
The Grudge, gotcha. Which is like a series, like a 4-episode series on Netflix,
well, there's,
right?
Yeah, so there's the series on Netflix, but there's also a series of the Grudge movies. And I think there's the original Japanese movie as well. But it's just, why sell this house that is so incredibly cursed?
Right.
Maybe they know that this house is cursed and they don't want to sell it. And so they're just like, or Haunting at Hill House. How in Haunting at Hill House,
Right.
He's like, I don't want anyone
leave
to
it
own
there to rot.
Yes, he's just going to leave it there to rot. And that's what vibe I'm kind of getting from this. And so, yeah, that is the end of my Haunting Hong Kong segment.
Haunted Hong Kong.
Yeah, and hopefully there's more haunted stuff that I find in Hong Kong. Who knows?
Indeed, that was pretty good.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm glad you combined two of them because they were both super interesting.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate it.
good stuff.
You're welcome.
All right, so before we move into my topic, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
All right, everybody, welcome to the second half of the episode. You're going to hear me again. JK, it's Adam's topic time. I was just trolling you.
I was going to say, okay, cool, you can read my script. I'm going to go to bed. Bye. All right, so...
I would not understand anything in your script because you do bullet points, and I'll just be like, all right.
My bullet points, they help keep me focused. So this week we have lots of new stuff going on in our lives, like we have mentioned throughout the show. Welcome to you, 2022. And with so much in flux, I decided that I wanted to go back to something familiar, something creepy, something scary-ish.
Is it scary-ish, or is it actually scary?
It's scary-ish. And it just depends on your perspective. I found these scary-ish. I really wanted to just cover some ghost stories, but I wanted to get some stuff that had some official weight behind it. I didn't want to just go onto Reddit or like Ranker, any of the lists that you can find, because there's a million of them out there with like random stories. So I decided that I wanted to find some ghost stories from some of the authorities that have had to deal with them in the line of work. So without further ado, I present to you law enforcement ghost stories. And let me go ahead and put the disclaimer up front on this episode. This could totally all be bullshit. I've come across quite a few stories during our time on Scaryish doing research. Not all of them have been long enough to make a full episode, or I can't find a specific source. A lot of times, if you find something that's a law enforcement officer stating that they had to deal with something in the line of duty, there's typically a report attached to it. I decided for this episode that I'm going to leave it up to you, the listener, to decide what you think is real and what you think is not. And that said, I have tried to source my stories from published books, reliable publications online, magazines, things like that. So keep that in mind when you're rimming your Scaryish margarita with your grains of salt. Also, maybe for January Patreon push, we'll put out an official recipe for the Scaryish margarita. I'm pretty sure Robin invented some crazy shit.
No, I didn't.
During SpookyCon 2021.
It's just a basic margarita.
Okay, cool. We'll just call it the Scaryish margarita.
You just put a floating ghost in there.
We'll just make some stuff up, but we'll come up with a recipe. It'll be fun. There are quite a few stories that I found that are from anonymous officers who chose to remain anonymous when they were telling their stories, because in several interviews, these officers state that there are quite a few other officers that refuse to talk about some of the calls that they've gone out on because they're just too creepy.
Yeah, you don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, man, I hate you. However, I love Encanto, so I'm totally okay with that joke. Anyways, I'm sure some of the best stories that are out there from law enforcement regarding like paranormal stuff that they've experienced are ones that haven't been told out of reluctance to speak about them. But that said, here are some that have been told that I was able to find. The first story I'll start with is a quick one. So in St. Louis, there's a police officer named Nino DiCandia who had a very odd experience. He's not a new officer. He's actually a veteran that's been around for a while. And during his time patrolling along LeMay Ferry Road on the southwest side of St. Louis, about 10 years ago, I believe, he passed a cemetery known as Park Lawn Cemetery. He passed it every night, in fact. One night, Nino was passing by the cemetery at 3 a.m.
Of course it is.
And he noticed an elderly couple walking through the cemetery.
Oh, they're not real. They're not real.
These are his words. Quote, I honestly thought it was people visiting a grave, and perhaps they had Alzheimer's because there was a nursing home that was close by. The lady, end quote, the lady was wearing a light-colored dress. The man was wearing a full brown suit. They were dressed very nicely entering this graveyard. Okay. They were also holding hands as they were walking in the graveyard.
That's what they were buried in, guaranteed.
Nino turned his car around so he could go see what the folks were doing in the graveyard at such an hour, hopefully get them home if there was something wrong. And when he approached the cemetery, he didn't see the couple at all. And this is Nino's own words regarding this event again. Quote, that's when I got the chills. It's not like it was just a glimpse. I watched them for a good 20 to 30 seconds. Maybe they were husband and wife or longtime companions and she had died first and was there waiting for him and showed him the way.
Oh, I have chills. That's so romantic.
Nino would drive by that cemetery every night for the next 2 years after the incident, but never saw the elderly couple again. Nino has since been promoted to a detective.
Oh.
He's given multiple interviews on this story. I found it in multiple spots. One of them had a more recent interview where he stated that he'll never forget what he saw. He wasn't tired. He wasn't hallucinating. He wasn't seeing things. He knows what he saw. It was two folks that vanished after walking into the cemetery.
That's super creepy. I have chills. That is so creepy.
It's also kind of romantic.
It is super romantic.
All right. Second story comes from a former patrol officer, named Jamie Doob. Back in Maine in 2008, Jamie was dispatched one night around 10 p.m.
All right, not the witching hour. Got it.
A woman had called the police department and complained of strange noises coming from her basement.
No. What the what? Why?
The dispatch, this is why I had to put this one in instead of the children running around, because I was like, this one has a little bit more meat on the bones, like I said. The dispatcher had asked what noises she was hearing, and the woman stated that she was hearing drums coming from the basement. When the dispatcher
I'm scared to go to sleep now.
When the dispatcher asked what she meant by drums, because when I hear drums, I think it's like, oh, you bought your son a drum set, he's downstairs being an asshole, and you want the officer to come over and tell him to stop.
It's a drummer boy type sound, isn't it?
She stated that it sounded like Native American drums were coming from her basement.
Oh my God.
She also stated that she swore she could hear chanting or vocalizing.
No.
The officer, I have cold chills right now too.
Why would you do this?
The officer drove to the home and walked up to the house. While walking up to the house, where they could already hear the faint sound of drumming.
Shut up.
So they're like, that's kind of real. When the officer reached the door, the sound was even louder, and they were convinced there was something going on in the basement, and they just needed to go down there and break it up, like this was a prank of some sort. The woman who had called the police answered the door, clearly frightened, and seeming to just want someone to confirm they could hear the sound, because she was home alone.
Dude,
and when the officer's like, I can hear that sound, she was relieved, like, okay, cool, I'm not crazy.
Now go into the basement and check.
The officer told her that they could also hear it. They were going to go check the basement. The officer then stated that they were sure this was probably a prank. There were kids in the basement of some sort. Maybe there was a speaker down there. He even asked the woman if this was the case or could be the case, but the woman insisted no one was downstairs and there's no speaker or any sort of recording device downstairs that she knew of. When the officer opened the basement door, the sound was so loud, they got on their radio to let dispatch know that they were at the house, they heard the drumming, and that they were going into the basement to investigate where the sound was coming from.
I'm terrified right now.
This is exactly what I would do. If I got to this and this is the situation, I would get on my radio, like, hey, I'm going to go investigate the creepy basement with actual weird sounds coming from it. If you don't hear me, send everyone possibly bombs. Like, get rid of this house forever. So the officer reaches out to switch on the light to the basement, and the instant the light in the basement turns on, the drums completely stop. It's just dead silence.
Oh, no.
Officer Doob goes into the basement and now convinced that they're going to find someone down there drumming, or there's some sort of speaker attached to something that would turn off when the light came on. Because there was tangible physical evidence to them, because they heard these drums louder and louder. They also heard the chanting. They go down into the basement, they investigate it thoroughly, and sure enough, it's completely empty. No speakers, no drums, no kids playing a prank, no other points of entry that could have been used while they were down there for someone to escape.
I don't like this.
So Officer Doob goes back up the stairs.
Sounds dubious.
Tells the lady who called would have been discovered, which is that there's nothing down there. And the lady asks Officer Doob, can you turn the light off before you leave to see if the phantom drums come back?
He's got to double check it.
So that's exactly what they do. I hate you so much. The drums don't come back. They flip the lights off. Drums don't come back. So they turn the lights on, leave them on for a little bit, turn it back off. They wait several minutes. They do this process over and over. The drums do not return. Officer Doob was so creeped out by the experience, they got on their radio. They told dispatch of the event, what they had found. There's nothing down there, but they definitely heard something. And then they notified the woman that if it comes back at all, to immediately call again. And they told dispatch to send them specifically because they were going to stay in the area so they could come right back over. No one heard from the lady ever again, so they assumed that the drums went away and did not come back, or that she was taken. No, seriously, just kidding. Like, they all assumed that the drums never came back, that there wasn't anything creepy going on.
That's terrifying. It's in the effing basement. Okay, that's awful already. And then you hear this loud drumming, and then as soon as you turn on the light, it's nothing. It's like something out of a horror movie. It's exactly out of a horror movie where you flip the light on and the demons are gone.
This was like 40 minutes into a 2-hour horror movie. This is when things are scary enough where you're going to call the cops, but nothing is found.
Yeah.
And then you know, the
and
end
then
of the movie.
Cops leave, and then
the end of the movie is we never heard from her again.
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. The next story I'm going to cover is from 2 police officers that received a call regarding a break-in at a local morgue. When the officers arrived, I don't have dates on this one, but it was published in a novel.
Okay.
Couldn't find the sources that were cited on the novel because I don't want to buy the fucking thing, so I didn't get to the references page. Anyways, when the officers arrived, a janitor met them at this morgue. They claimed when they arrived, this janitor seemed very, very shaken. He was the one who had made the call to the dispatcher. He was cleaning inside, and he noticed something moving just on the edge of his vision. So he crept forward to investigate, and when he did, he saw someone run across his field of vision, moving into a dark room. Doing the wise thing, when he saw this, he said, "Fuck this!" and he called the police. He waited outside for them to arrive. When they asked this janitor for a description of what he saw, he said, quote, "Sorry, dogs. I was too busy noping the fuck out." End quote. Obviously not a quote.
Also, quote, "Have you heard of Scaryish? They're so sweet."
They're so fucking dope. I love that show. The officers entered the premises assuming it was either kids fucking around or someone was there to try and steal whatever substances could be found in a morgue, probably to get high off of. And I picture them entering the morgue with that like pose where you have your gun drawn, your flashlights underneath supporting your wrist. But realistically, you can just turn on the lights in real life. They had the janitor come inside with them and help them search the building because he knew the layout. And as they went through, they were turning on the lights. They went down the main hallway and they were checking the rooms as they went along. Just as they were thinking the janitor was full of shit, one of the officers entered a room that was still in the dark. And his partner and the custodian,
I don't like where this is going,
kept going somewhere else.
Okay.
He couldn't find the light switch on the wall. So he swept the room while it was still in the dark. And when he's walking through it, he realized he was in the waiting room they have loved ones stay in when they're coming there to confirm an identity or collect personal effects.
Okay.
And right when he finished sweeping the room, he heard his partner yell out, "Freeze! Do you feel lucky, punk? I'm too old for this shit." And a variety of other cop catchphrases. He legitimately yelled at someone to freeze. I forgot to put that in here. God damn it. So the officer that's in the dark room rushes back to his partner in the hallway, who already has his gun out and raised and pointed towards the end of the hallway. When he gets to his partner, he says, "What's going on?" The partner replies, he saw a lady go around the corner of the hallway at the end of the hallway. And the janitor tells them both the way the lady went is a dead end with no exit, which is convenient for the story, but apparently true. Or it could all be bullshit. Anyways, at this point, both officers take their guns out. They have their guns drawn. And they move forward to the end of the hallway. So at the end of the hallway, there's like a left you can take. That's just more hallway, you know? And when they're ready to round the corner and confront the intruder, they decide to call out to the lady, stating they're not going to harm her, but they do have to remove her and detain her. And they only get silence in return. So when they're at the end of this hallway, it's really dark still. They haven't turned on any of the lights at this point. And they put their backs up against the wall, and one of them peeks around the corner to see what's down there.
Okay.
When he peeks around the corner, he sees this woman at the end of the hallway. He can't quite make her out, but he can see her shape. She's small in stature, and she has long, dark hair. The cop that originally drew his gun, that saw her first, yells out, "Give it up! You're out of options!" That one's from Speed.
God damn it.
If you slow down, this morgue will explode. So he gave a nod to his partner, and they turned the corner together. And when they turned the corner, they were just in time to see this lady opening a large gray door at the end of this hallway now. She runs through it. She slams it shut behind her. They rush to the end of the hallway, but they can't get the door open. So they did the standard thing where you bang on the door and you demand she open it. And the custodian comes down there and he says, "Yo, dogs, that door does not lock from the inside. She should not have been able to lock them out. The door locks from the outside."
Their side.
So they check the door and it's locked. They just saw her go through it, but the door is locked from the outside. So the custodian takes out the keys and unlocks it, and they all agree they're completely baffled how the door could have locked from the inside if there's no locking mechanism. Once unlocked, the two officers enter the room. They creep through it, looking in all the crevices. They are unable to find the woman. They do it in the dark because they don't want the janitor/custodian, whatever word you want to use, to come in with them. Once they can't find the woman, the officers basically notice at this point the room is colder than they would expect even for a morgue.
Wait, so the guy that was walking through the dark room saw nothing. There was nothing in there.
Correct. That was a red herring.
You stupid
I twatted you on that one. So anyways, the Wheel of Time, because they use red herrings constantly in that show. So when they notice that the room is exceptionally cold, the janitor comes in and he turns on the lights. And when he turns on the lights, they confirm this woman is nowhere to be seen in this room. There's no other ways to leave. She's just gone. In fact, the room itself was fairly empty aside from some equipment on some desks and two gurneys in the middle of the room.
All right.
One of the gurneys was empty. The other one had a body shape underneath a sheet.
Okay.
So the three men all look at each other like, "Oh, you fucking kidding me?" And they slowly approach the body on the gurney. One officer reaches out and pulls back the sheet. And sure enough, the body that's laying there is the woman they are chasing, that's slight of stature with long black hair. When I originally read this, I'm like, she's pretending. So they check. Sure enough, she is dead. The other thing they notice after they confirm that she is dead is that there is a toe tag attached to her, and it lists her date of death as 4 days earlier.
Fuck that.
That apparently has an official police report that I was not able to locate.
Effing way.
So that one's creepy, possibly bullshit, but creepy. Apparently, there's this full report that I can't get to, so take that with a grain of salt.
This is like, I can't anymore.
So we only have one more to go.
Okay.
Okay, so this last one comes from the internet, so it has to be 100% true.
Okay.
An officer was bringing a man, and this is written from the officer's perspective, the one that I found.
Okay.
I saw this 2 or 3 places, and one of them was from the officer himself. He gives his name and his information. I left it out except for the first name, because I was like, okay, cool. Okay. I'm going to put it in the show. Okay. Anyways, officer was bringing in a man to the station after responding to a call about domestic violence. The domestic violencer, I don't know how you'd say that, was an asshole.
The assaulter?
That works. So the officer alerted his fellow officers while bringing him in that he would need assistance getting him to a cell. Side note, not going to get into this really long story.
Okay.
But I have friends that have at one point been arrested.
Okay.
And they had their officer also call ahead and state, "These people are difficult. I need assistance." And they basically had like 10 people, 5 for each guy, in SWAT uniforms come out and beat the shit out of them and then take them to their cell. That's back home in good old Northwest Indiana.
Oh my.
In this case, the domestic violencer arrives with the officer in the car, and the officer's sergeant and another patrolman are there to help get the guy to his cell. And it was a struggle. He was still fighting. They were able to get him out of the car, but it took all 3 of the men to get him moving through the station. While they were moving him, the arresting officer, the original officer, looks at cell 1 as they're like shoving this guy by. And he notices a man sitting in the cell just watching them, not saying a word.
No, this is a horror movie right now.
So,
no. This guy's not there. Obviously,
he returns his attention to the difficult perpetrator and continues moving this guy to his cell. And after the 3 men finally get this asshole into his cell, they start walking back, and the arresting officer, while he walks back to the booking area to fill out his paperwork, passes cell 1 and looks back. Because when you bring someone in who's difficult, all the inmates take notice. My friends who were arrested they told me, like, they went to this really bad jail. And these are not two dudes who did anything wrong. They just got arrested because shit got a little out of control with arguing. That's why they got taken in, okay? When they're taken into the cell of people who are like straight out of a movie scene where you get put into a holding cell of people that are scary, they all moved away from my two friends because 10 officers dragged them into the holding cell.
Oh my God.
Like they're fucking murderers.
Okay.
So you take notice of the people already in holding cells and how they're behaving when you're bringing in someone who's difficult. So he walks past cell 1 again. This creepy dude is still just sitting there staring at him. And as they walk past, the original officer kind of has like a staring contest with him, where the creepy guy's just staring at him, like completely unaffected, and the officer's looking back at him like, the fuck is this guy's problem? So he walks past him, he starts filling out the paperwork for the domestic violence call. His sergeant asks him, hey, check all the paperwork for the prisoners to see if any are in need of being transported to the county jail. So he goes through the paperwork, and when he's checking the paperwork, he goes to perform a head count, and he gets to cell 1 to say like 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And the fucking cell is empty.
All right.
So he freaks out, and he calls a sergeant who runs up, and the sergeant's like, where'd this guy go? And he tells him, I have no idea. So they call the detectives in the station because they're the only other people who could come into the holding cells and take someone out to interrogate them, whatever they need to do. The detectives tell them, we haven't been in there, we haven't taken anyone, so it's not us. At this point, the two men check all the paperwork and the computer records and find out that no one that day had been booked into cell 1.
And the convenient part of the story is they have no cameras to check?
Wow, it's almost like I have more bullet points, Robin. They then went to the dispatch office to check the surveillance video. Again, this is the internet, so it's 110% true story and in no way fake. They moved the video back to the point where they could see themselves moving the difficult perpetrator to his new cell.
Okay.
They claim while they watched it, they could see the creepy man sitting in the cell watching them.
No, they cannot.
They sat and they watched the video, watched the three of them move past cell 1. Then they waited and waited and waited. Then they watched their past versions, walk back across it, and they watched the arresting officer and the creepy prisoner have the staring contest. And then after all 3 officers had passed cell 1, like a frame afterwards, he wasn't there anymore.
Fuck that.
They said it was like he, quote, blinked out of existence.
No.
And this dude then goes on this really long rant about how all the calls he's been called out to, and this is the creepiest thing he's ever seen. And the guy's name is Marco Castillo. That's the man who was the arresting officer. He swears this is true. They then attempted to transfer the video to a DVD and a USB drive so they could show other people because they're like, we don't know what the fuck happened here. And every version they made that they took to show other folks, when they showed them, the man didn't exist on the footage. And when they went back to check the originals, the man didn't exist anymore. Marco insists this story is not made up or exaggerated. It's just how it happened. And although the mysterious disappearing man was never seen again, individuals in cells that face cell number 1 since that night can be heard talking to someone in cell number 1 as if they're answering questions
scary,
despite it being empty.
This isn't just Scaryish. This is scary. That's scary.
Yeah,
That's scary.
I really like
the fact that there are people that are in the cell that face cell 1 that talk to someone in cell 1.
That's just not there.
But, no.
Fucking creepy.
And
the guy
I'm not gonna sleep tonight. Dude, I have chills.
The guy admitted I can see the chills in your arms, actually.
Dude.
The guy admitted in his post that he doesn't like to go into booking or any place near cell 1 by himself.
Pass. Yep, pass.
And he's a veteran of the police force.
Big pass.
So there's so many of these stories, and a lot of them come back as anonymous. And when I was going through them, I'm like, I'm going to save this. I'm probably going to do another episode like this, which is why I wanted to call it Law Enforcement Ghost Stories number 1. So it was really nice to sort of get back to the roots of scary stuff for Scaryish.
Nice. High five.
2022. High five.
Smack.
The Robin Grace just redeemed a high five, so good stuff.
All right.
But
yeah, thank you for that. That was absolutely terrifying. I enjoyed
problem.
that. Back to the roots, back to scaring the pants off me. Thank you.
It's good stuff. So yeah, that's everything we have for episode 212 of the Scaryish podcast. If you have a story you would like to send us, it doesn't have to be about our topics today. It could be about anything paranormal, supernatural, spiritual, coincidental, sometimes true crime, sometimes extraterrestrial in nature. Feel free to do so. You can email storytime@scaryish.com or go to our website, scaryish.com, and click on Contact Us. Fill out that form. It comes directly to us. Or hit us up on our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod. And Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, Because it's January
God
Patreon push. How can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/Scaryish podcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. You can also go to ko-fi.com/Scaryish podcast. And those are one-time donations. All your donations help us keep this podcast going and kind of keep us creeping you out like Adam did today, because I definitely got chills.
Good. I'm glad. I hope the folks out there enjoyed it as well. So pretty good stuff. I think it's a good way to start 2022. So cool. Thank you all
Happy
for
New Year!
joining us. Happy New Year. And that's everything we got. So Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later. Wait, did I miss the chance where I could say, and we'll see you in the new year?
Yeah, because it's already the new year.
Shit. Bye.